Good morning to those here in the room and those online. Thank you for your presence. So 3.3 miles away from the Village Zendo in New York City, there is a thoroughfare named Tunnel Exit Street. Have you ever seen Tunnel Exit Street? It only appears to be in Midtown. It only appears to be 4 blocks long. It only seems to be a one-way street. Going in all directions, it's neither short nor long. It appears to be very busy, but it is in fact completely empty. Empty, and yet we are all residents of Tunnel Exit Street, inhabiting it at all hours of the day and night. In all of our coming and going, we never leave Tunnel Exit Street. Our wholehearted practice, our wholehearted Zen practice makes us residents automatically. But all too often we draw the blinds and we lose the light of that street, retreating to the tunnel that we know and love. Even though we wish to exit it, we know and love that tunnel. So what exactly is that tunnel? It's our habit of separating, of dividing, using categories to split the world into pieces, pieces we like, pieces we don't like, pieces we revere, pieces that we hate. Our judgments about how we should be, how others should be, are continuous, are they not? These are the features of the tunnel. Self and other, relative and absolute, past and present, and future, good and evil, and of course, life and death. We use these dualisms to pretend that we know how life should be, how we and others should be. And pretending to know we call ourselves good and others evil. We crave what we don't have and we despise what we do have. Our wanting things to be different is a major feature of this tunnel. There are frequent cave-ins. The air is not very good. And unidentifiable liquids are constantly seeping in and running down the walls. Yum, 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 yum. We love the tunnel and we hate the tunnel. We have an interesting relationship, a love-hate relationship with the tunnel. We want a way out, don't we? And so we come to Zen practice, but the way out, it turns out, is not so simple. At first, our impulse is to create another tunnel. And this tunnel is that the old tunnel is bad and that leaving it is good. But how can we leave this tunnel by using the tools of the tunnel? We need something different than good and bad, entering and exiting, to be free of this prison that we have created for ourselves and are recreating anew all the time. We want to blame and fix ourselves and blame and fix others. We'd like to use brute force to eliminate our deep, abiding dissatisfaction because it is all really very unsatisfying, isn't it? we just can't help wanting it to be different. The Buddha nearly starved himself to death, wanting it to be different. He applied brute force, self-torment, during his years of austerity to try to make the change that he wanted. And then he realized, what I think he realized is, that instead of having an adversarial relationship with reality, he could actually accommodate what was going on. Old age, sickness, and death were not going to disappear because the Buddha didn't like them. And they're not going to disappear because we don't like them. But what if, instead of making them a problem, we came to understand that it's our own attitude, the tunnel that we have created, that is in fact the problem and the solution. So, since reality is us, this is the self meeting the self in all its many aspects. This is the self exiting the tunnel while continuing to fully inhabit the tunnel, and to enter into the undivided activity of the tunnel. I am intimately familiar with this place that I'm calling the tunnel. My favorite tunneling is trying to manage the feelings of others toward me. For some reason, I think it is a catastrophe that somebody might not like me. I have an obscene fear of that feeling, that somebody is not quite on board with what I'm offering. And I will go to enormous lengths to try to fix that. And of course, in trying to fix it, often I make that problem worse or create it to begin with. But this is the habit. So it's not that I'm a people pleaser, it's that I'm a not displeasing people person. I am not displeasing you. What is your version of this tunnel behavior? Reflect now on what it is that you most want to do that constricts you, that binds you, that limits you. We all have it, and we can all develop a richer and deeper and fuller relationship with it. And that is what I think we're here to do, together. I want to be clear that this effort to see ourselves is not a do-gooder project. This is not making nice, or being righteous, or being moral or pure. Because all of those goals just increase our suffering. We're never pure enough, are we? We're never good enough, are we? We constantly yearn for something better in ourselves than we're offering. And this is an exhausting round of suffering that we can easily relieve ourselves of if we just learn to tolerate reality, which is us. So, here's how the great Zen master Baizong spoke about this 1200 years ago. In the presence of all objects, mind being neither still nor disturbed, neither concentrated nor scattered, passing through all sound and form, without lingering or obstruction, is called being a person of the way. Not setting in motion good, evil, right or wrong, not clinging to a single thing, not rejecting a single thing is called being a person of the great vehicle. Not bound by any good, evil, emptiness, existence, defilement, purity, doing, non-doing, mundane, supramundane, blessings, virtue, knowledge, or wisdom, is called Buddha wisdom, not bound. Our search to end our own pain, to stop anesthetizing ourselves with pious undertakings, simple certainties, logic, and reason begins with zazen and with the precepts. We have a study text this winter ongo. Actually, it's two texts. One of them is called Zenki, both texts written by Dogen Zenji. If you haven't read them, they're available on our website. I urge you to read them. And in Zenki, Dogen writes this, where he offers subtlety, not certainty. Both the entire earth and the entire sky appear in birth as well as in death. However, it is not that one and the same entire earth and sky are fully manifested in birth and in death. Although not one, not different. Although not different, not the same. Although not the same, not many. I just have to read that again. Although not one, not different. Although not different, not the same. Although not the same, not many. What realm is this? Rather disorienting, isn't it? How are we to compass it with our minds? How are we to live this insane between space that is neither good nor bad, but partakes of both, and rejects both, and partakes of both, and is neither of them? Can we just stop clinging so tightly to our preconceived ideas of what it should be like? Can we live the first pure precept, not knowing, thereby giving up fixed ideas about myself and the universe? This is ceasing from evil. Not knowing. It's really how it is. Can we just accept the reality that we don't know how it is? It'd be a lot less painful, really. A lot more complicated, much richer, much scarier, in a way, than the tunnel. So, let's use the precepts as a lens to look at a recent event that is on the minds of many people. I thought very hard about whether to talk about this event, but because it is something that is so constantly being talked about through the lens of right or wrong, good and bad, I think we need to approach it in a different way. Jifu, I'm feeling very worried about your knees. Why don't you move the mat so that you can be more comfortable? Please. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I am imagining that really isn't comfortable. I hope we can all be comfortable, not knowing. So, not knowing about the shooting by 43-year-old Jonathan Ross of Renee Nicole Good, 37, mother of 3. We all have opinions, don't we? But were we there? Were we either of the people who were mainly involved in this incident? No. So what do we really know about what happened? Well, we have video, and we have a lot of ink being spilled about it. But what do we really know? But we have, for the most part, I think, made up our minds, one side or the other. So let's see if we can approach it a little differently, because the approach that we're taking, the reflex approach, is an approach that creates suffering. And as I won't tire of saying, this practice, in my view, is about reducing suffering, preventable suffering that we create through our wanting to know and judge. So, not only were we not there, we have no direct experience. So let's pause in our anxiousness to make up our minds about this event and take a look at it through the lens of the precepts. And I feel a little weird doing this because we have Fusatsu every month, our atonement ceremony, and in those ceremonies coming up Thursday of this week, we have a precepts talk. And this is not really the time for a precepts talk, but I actually found working with the precepts and this event to be very supportive and helpful to me. So I can't help but share it. So I apologize if you feel this is out of sorts. And I'm just going to go through them. And for those who don't know what the precepts are, there are 10 great precepts. And you might think they're rather like the 10 Commandments, but they're really actually quite different, even if superficially similar. And it starts with the same basic precept in both cases, non-killing. We don't say, thou shalt not kill. We say the precept of non-killing. Well, obviously someone was killed, right? That's the controversy. Somebody died. And the precept does not actually say anything about self-defense. It's quite interesting. I didn't really think about that. But neither the precepts nor the commentaries on them say that, well, in this situation, you can do it. Or it's okay if such and such a thing happens to do it. None of that is there. So, and that's really the whole argument, isn't it? Everybody is arguing about whether it was justified or not. The precept says, quite simply, do not kill. Can we just not do the thing the precept's telling us to not do? That's what's on the table here. Even though none of us were there, even though none of us bears responsibility for it, can we not kill? So, there will be an investigation about the whole details of whether it was justified or not. But we can just say for ourselves, as a practice for ourselves, I will not kill. The second precept is non-stealing. So here, as a 37-year-old person, I think she is, or was, she may have had, the victim, the person killed, may have had 50 more years of life. Those lives, those years were stolen. That was a theft. I think one can say that. And of course, the person shooting stole something from himself, his peace of mind, his relationship with others. Will that person, Jonathan Ross, ever be the same? No. Impossible. Can we have compassion for that person? Although he did what he did, and we have our feelings about that, can we have compassion for the suffering of that person? It's a possibility. I'm not telling you what to feel, but it's a possibility that we could feel compassion for somebody who ruined his own life through that gesture. Quite probably. How will he live with himself? Not misusing sex is the third precept. Now you might think, well, that's very out of the picture here. But I'll have reframed this precept a little bit for myself as not abusing power. So if you put it in that context, there's a lot to talk about here. And all I'll say about it is that if there isn't an impartial investigation, I think that might be called an abuse of power. And if the government says that its agents are above scrutiny, cannot be investigated for their actions, no matter what those actions are, I would like to suggest that that could be an abuse of power. So, that's the third precept. The fourth is non-lying. So, right away, stories were being told about the victim. She was called a terrorist. All of you can make up your own mind about whether you think that's true or not. But it came very quickly. You don't have the facts, and already she's being called a terrorist. This word is being used so much nowadays, I think it's losing its meaning. I mean, back when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of terrorism going on, but they were mass events. They were, lots of people being taken hostage, really elaborate planning and staged, and governments kind of swooping in to fix that. This use of that word so freely and so quickly is, I think, a little bit questionable, especially since no investigation had been done. So, you make up your own mind, but I'm not sure I see this person as a terrorist. I'm not sure I see either of them as a terrorist. How do you see them? Do you see them as separate from yourself? The fifth precept, I think, not giving or taking drugs. So, I feel that the way that the press feeds us what we want to see, tells us what we already want to believe, validates our preconceived ideas and biases. The press validates the tunnel. And we select our outlets, right? Our media outlets for what we want to be told. Doesn't matter where you are in the political spectrum, you will select what you think reinforces your value system and your beliefs. So this is how the tunnel gets shored up. That's how it's built in the first place, but then it gets shored up with this constant self-reinforcement of our biases. So this is a drug, just as toxic and potent as the things we normally associate with drugs. So can we stop giving and taking drugs in this way? Because we can't allow for other versions of the truth to exist. We are not the possessors of the truth, and just because we read a particular newspaper or watch a particular television station does not make us right. There are a lot of aspects to the precepts. I'm just giving you the most quick, basic aspects. There's so much more to work with here. Not discussing the faults of others and not elevating the self and blaming others. Well, this is really quite obvious, isn't it? Who was responsible? She shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that. She's to blame. He's to blame. It's constantly using this story to judge people and assign blame. Have you ever assigned blame? Is there a person here listening to this talk who has not assigned blame to another person, looked down on the other person, and judged the other person? We all have an experience of either doing this or having done it to ourselves or having had others do it to us. We all know what it feels like, and yet we continue to do it. This is suffering. This is the tunnel. Is there an alternative? I'm not telling you I know how we should handle it. I'm just suggesting that there might be a different way of handling it that might reduce suffering. The eighth precept, not sparing the Dharma assets. This seems difficult to apply to this case, but we can at least inquire in our minds about what in this story are the Dharma assets. Is this event, terrible as it was for everyone, a Dharma asset? I think it is, because we can learn from it. If we choose to, we can learn from it. And I implore all of us to learn from it. The 9th precept, not indulging in anger. Well, I don't need to really dwell on this one, do I? I mean, this is about nothing if it isn't about anger. If you watch the video, there's a lot of different angles, but there's one video, the one taken by the agent who shot the person, that has his verbal comment about her after the shooting. Maybe some of you have heard that comment. That, to me, demonstrated a lot of anger. Was it justified or not? Who knows? But can we dial the temperature down to reduce our own suffering and that of other people? It is really difficult when our passions are engaged to not be angry, to not indulge and feed that anger. It's just like chasing thoughts when we're sitting on the cushion, isn't it? Our minds just want to reach out and grab and spin on a particular thing. Let's try to interrupt that cycle for our own benefit and the benefit of all those around us. And last but not least, not defaming the 3 treasures. That's the 10th precept. There are a variety of things to be said about this, but one thing that defames the 3 treasures is separating. Do you think that Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are separate from you? How could they possibly be separate from you? Each one here and each one not here is Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. They are infinite. They encompass all of us. So let's try to stop separating, because that's what created this situation in the first place. They were at each other's throats from the beginning, with disastrous results. Usually it doesn't go this far, but this is what it leads to. When we separate, it can lead to this agony, this national agony that could have been prevented. And would that it had been. So where does this whirlwind tour of the precepts and how they might apply to this event leave us? It leaves us in a much murkier place, I think. Much more relational, much more challenging, and much richer. And I think this is a place where we can practice. This is practice, is using the precepts, not to react immediately through our biases, but to reflect. And it gives us a structure. I personally felt enormously supported when I started to digest this event through the precepts. And I recommend that to everyone as a way of dealing with these difficult events. I think we need structure and guidance. And even if it seems to you like nobody else is doing the work, like the people in Minneapolis aren't doing the work, neither of them were Buddhists, neither of them, who cares? It doesn't matter. You're responsible for your own suffering, and you're responsible for bringing it to an end. And the precepts can help you, along with meditation, to do exactly that. And even a tiny reduction is worth it. Never underestimate the importance of tiny reductions in suffering. I'm just very grateful that I can be here. With you at this time. I'd like to close by quoting Dogen again, this time from his Genjo Koan. Though there are many features in the dusty world and the world beyond conditions, you see and understand only what your eye of practice can reach. In order to learn the nature of the myriad things, you must know that although they may look round or square, The other features of oceans and mountains are infinite in variety. Whole worlds are there. It is so not only around you, but also directly beneath your feet, or in a drop of water. Whole worlds are there, directly beneath your feet. For the sake of Brene Brown, for the sake of Jonathan Ross, for the sake of this broken world, let us continue to practice diligently and support each other in applying the precepts to accommodate reality as skillfully as we can, to reduce suffering. Thank you.